Just close your eyes. Know the peace within. Your unlimited potential remains unknown to you. You do not know what you are, neither you know how you happen to be here, nor you know how the entire manifestation is happening just now. You never value yourself. You do not know what yourself is. Because yourself contains all. Yourself means your consciousness. Your consciousness, which is universal, now knows its presence as I amness through the form. Your I amness is nothing but consciousness. But your consciousness unknowingly accepts the form to be itself, as it is yet to be aware of its infinite potential. Your consciousness remains ignorant about itself. Your consciousness never knows that it is infinite, beyond boundaries, beyond form, beyond manifestation, beyond space, beyond time, and beyond movement. See how your consciousness remains ignorant about itself. Why? Because your consciousness knows its presence as I amness. How? Through the form. But unknowingly, your consciousness accepts itself to be a tiny form with fixed labels. So, your consciousness identifies itself as a tiny form, though it is prior to form, though it is prior to manifestation. Your consciousness never knows that it is consciousness. That's a drawback. How do you know that you exist? You know that you are. How? Only because of consciousness. But for consciousness, your presence cannot be known. But your consciousness does not know that it is consciousness, because it gets to know its presence only through the form. So the play begins here by wrongly identifying itself as a form. By identifying itself as a form, the play begins, the division begins, the drama begins, the movie begins. Your consciousness is the source of entire manifestation, but it never knows by identifying itself to be a tiny form. So your consciousness remains ignorant about itself, and it starts accepting itself to be different from whatever perceived within space, not knowing that each and every form, whether it is a living or non-living, are made up of consciousness just now. But for consciousness, there's no matter here within space. The highest truth about itself remains unknown to consciousness. Why? Because though it is the source of the entire manifestation, the source of the space, the source of all objects within space, it never knows. And by identifying itself as a tiny form with limited labels or whatsoever, it remains fearful. It remains worried. It remains tensed at the form level identities, because it is constantly expecting something. It is constantly worrying about something, and it never remains peaceful because it never knows that it is consciousness. Consciousness is full of love. It's a source of love. But your consciousness, by identifying itself to be a form, it doesn't know what love is. It is limiting the love at the personality level. It never knows love is universal. It never knows that love is beyond limitation. It never knows that love does not expect anything. It never knows that love is beyond matter. It never knows the highest truth about itself by accepting the form to be itself. So, the highest potential, the unlimited potential about itself remains unknown to itself. So, the basic thing is, without your consciousness, there is no thing here in space. Your consciousness is the primary factor out of which everything appears, moves, happens, and disappears just now. I am not telling any story. I am telling what is happening just now out of your consciousness. Your consciousness is the source of entire movements, entire objects, entire manifestation, entire universe, entire cosmos, entire galaxies. Every object, irrespective of the volume or the size or whatever it is happening out of your light of consciousness just now. But for you, there's no thing here. But how will your consciousness know its highest potential when it is accepting itself to be a tiny form? By accepting the tiny form to be itself, it accepts the birth to be real and also the death to be real, not knowing that it is more than the form. You are consciousness at present. You are more than the form. You are only using the form. Your consciousness never knows about itself. So it is continuously dragged down by whatever that is perceived as real and whatever that is happening to be real, not knowing that all the happenings and all the movements through the forms are not real, though they appear to be so, because everything is constantly changing, including the form. How the form is made of just now? There are zillions and zillions of cells appearing and disappearing at an unexplainable speed in no time. The appearance of the cell or the disappearance of the cell cannot be explained accurately because it is happening at such a greater speed in no time. Nothing is stationary just now. Everything is constantly moving, changing. The fact is, your consciousness neither moves nor changes. It is ever present. Every movement happens out of your consciousness. Every object happens out of your consciousness. Every form happens out of your consciousness. Your consciousness is not a person. That's why I say there are no persons here. All by consciousness itself. Every form. When you come to know that you are, you see not only your form. You see every form just now. The moment you are conscious of yourself, you see every form, including your form. So every form is happening just now. Where? In the light of your consciousness. Your consciousness is nothing but light. Out of light only, every element is happening at a greater speed, and every element is interacting at a greater speed, and every object is also happening at a greater speed. This cannot be explained at all, because the moment you explain it is not there, it is changing itself. You can't explain it because it is happening at a greater speed. It appears so. So in the light of your consciousness, a big drama is going on, a big movie is going on, a continuous dream is going on. But your consciousness never knows all these things are not real, because it is accepting itself to be a tiny form. Once your conscious is conscious of itself, it knows that everything arises out of itself, and knows that everything is only a reflection of itself, and knows that there is nothing real in space just now. So the very fact about itself remains unknown to itself, because it is not yet conscious of itself. And it continuously remains worried because it accepts the death to be real by accepting the form to be real, not knowing that the form itself is happening only out of itself. Just now, if you are not conscious, where is the form? Where is any movement? Where is world? Where is cosmos? Where is the universe? Your consciousness contains all, but it never knows it. Your self contains all, but it never knows it, because it yet to know itself. That's why the self knowing itself is most essential in this journey. This means your consciousness should know that it is only consciousness at present. This is the beginning of the journey. It's not final. So the journey of the consciousness begins not at the form level, neither at the personality level, but at the conscious level. Once you understand what I am expounding here, the consciousness within you will start waking up and accepts itself to be consciousness only. Whatever the shape of the form, whatever the design of the form, whatever the name added to the form, it is not you, it is only an appearance. How can the form function without consciousness? Can the form move without consciousness? First of all, form cannot happen without consciousness. Then you can talk about movement. The very appearance of the form itself is by consciousness. Just now. Each and every cell is appearing and disappearing at an unexplainable speed. Just now. You are not the same at the same nanosecond. Unless you go deeper and abide in stillness constantly, neither you will be conscious of yourself, nor you will know that everything arises out of yourself. So, continuously you are wasting your time throughout the waking state by not remaining conscious of yourself. You know only to identify yourself to be a form, as you are yet to know the consciousness within. Consciousness means not something far away from you or not something bigger than you. It is very much here, and consciousness is not a word, it is beyond words. Just now you are conscious of yourself. You know that you are without words. You don't require any knowledge to know that you are here. Without any external knowledge, you know that you are. This knowing your presence as I am without any words is the self-knowledge. The knowledge about the self. You know that you are, that is more than enough. That's a primary knowledge, that's the only self-knowledge which you are now. And every knowledge is received only because you are conscious. So the primary knowledge is that you are without words, and every knowledge is full of words, and those knowledge are not you. It is only for convenient communication, for the survival of the form within space. You accept it as such and use it whenever it is essential. Rest of the time, abide in your self-knowledge peacefully. Your consciousness means knowing the peace within. Just now, you know the peace within. This peace is not moving, neither it changes itself. So by knowing the peace within, by knowing the stillness within, you are conscious at present. And you are ever like this, not only in this waking state, even in deep sleep, even in the dream state, and whatever the term you use. This peace is ever there, but seldom you know the peace within because you are identifying too much with the words, not knowing that words are not you. The more you give importance to the words, lesser you will be conscious of yourself. The more you stay beyond words, the more your conscious is conscious of itself. So to be conscious of yourself, you need not make any effort, neither move here and there, neither spend money or time. Just closing eyes is enough, and knowing the peace within is more than enough. Because you are already conscious. In your consciousness only, everything is happening just now. But you fail to know that you are conscious because you are identifying yourself too much at the form level. You are only using the form, but you are more than the form. So the highest fact about yourself remains unknown to you till your consciousness is conscious of itself. This is the first point to be noted. First, your consciousness is not conscious of itself, and your consciousness never knows its highest potential, out of which entire object, entire manifestation is happening just now. This is only the beginning of the journey. Once your consciousness is conscious of itself, it starts valuing itself. By being with yourself, by being conscious of yourself, your consciousness is merging totally in the source of awareness. Your consciousness is never separate from the source just now. You are already the source, but your consciousness is yet to know its source because it is continuously identifying itself to be a form, to be a person, at the form level identity, not knowing that it is only consciousness. So the moment your consciousness is conscious of itself, it stays beyond words. It uses words only when it is essential. Rest of the time, your consciousness closes the eyes and remaining peaceful and abide in stillness constantly. And your consciousness is already in the source. It never knows that it is already in the source, and neither it knows that it is every manifestation is out of itself. So your consciousness is continuously struggling at the form level identity, as it is yet to wake up and know that it is only consciousness. The moment our conscious is conscious of itself, the same moment it starts waking up. Wakefulness means your consciousness knowing the peace within, and the stillness can be known only by staying beyond words. By staying beyond words, your consciousness is conscious of itself. So now your conscious is conscious of itself. That's why you remain so relaxed, peaceful, and remain free from all tensions or emotions, whatever the term may be. You are like this, utterly relaxed inwardly, always. Nothing never happens to you. But you never know the stillness continuously within, though it is there. Because the stillness is not an object to appear and disappear, to move here and there, so that you can run and chase and get that peace. It is your own subject. It does not move and it cannot move. It is there, very much here, right now. Why not you settle here? You contain it. Why not you settle here? Which is preventing you. You are already in it. Unknowingly you are running here and there in search of it. Going there will make you peaceful. Going here will make you peaceful. Not knowing that you have to go inward, because it is very much within. Within means beyond space. The truth is within. The peace is within. Truth means it is unmoving, unchanging, and ever present. Truth does not appear and disappear because it is not an object. You do not know what is truth because you are yet to know what you are. You are already the truth. You contain it just now. There's no truth higher than you. There's no truth greater than you. You are the only truth. Then how do you miss it? How do you miss yourself? You continuously miss yourself because your consciousness is not yet conscious of itself. Remaining conscious or being conscious means knowing the peace within constantly. This peace is within, it is constant. It neither changes nor disappears nor moves. It is ever. When it is ever here, how do you miss it? How can you miss it? Because to that extent, you are identifying things too much and identifying things to be yourself, not knowing that you are more than a thing. You are not the matter but beyond matter. You are not the movement but prior to movement. You are not an object but prior to object. You are in timelessness. You are not the time. Time is a movement. The stillness does not move. That's why it is called still. The stillness does not change. The stillness does not appear and disappear. So the truth about yourself begins here. I am helping you to abide in the stillness where the truth begins. Why not you settle here? That's my question. I am here only to help you to abide in stillness. Then only your consciousness can remain conscious of itself and also starts waking up and starts knowing its highest potential beyond limitations. Whatever perceived in space, in duality, are not you. You are beyond duality, beyond space, beyond object, beyond matter, just now. The stillness is beyond matter. It is beyond object. It is beyond movement. So I am helping you directly to abide in the state which is beyond words. Just now you are prior to space, prior to object. That's why you feel so much relaxed. In deep sleep, you are like this exactly. Nothing disturbs you because there's no object. In deep sleep, no object. Object does not appear. So you are totally free from the object and their movement and their identifications. So you remain so relaxed. Even now, you are prior to object, prior to identification, prior to matter. Then why do you get identified yourself to be the matter and get disturbed? Because you are not yet conscious of yourself. My whole teaching is only to make you conscious of yourself. Then only your consciousness can wake up and know its absolute truth beyond duality. Your consciousness never dies, but it accepts the death to be real because it is yet to wake up from the perceived dream. Here in space, whatever perceived are not real because they are constantly changing. Like a movie on a screen here, everything is constantly changing, including your breathing and heartbeat. You are not the movement, you are not the changes, you are the constant observer. This also your consciousness never knows because it is continuously identifying itself to be a form, to be a person. So your consciousness constantly remains ignorant at the form level identities, though it is the source of entire manifestation, entire object within space. It never knows that without this consciousness, nothing can appear here. You are the king at the conscious level. You are an emperor at the conscious level. But you remain a beggar at the form level identity, not knowing the form itself cannot happen without your consciousness. So you remain begging at the personality level. You remain ignorant about yourself because there's nothing here other than yourself, and whatever perceived within space is nothing but yourself only. Yourself contains all. But your consciousness remains longing for the objects. It wants to possess so many things to be itself, not knowing the space itself is happening only out of your consciousness. What more you want? Only within space all objects appear and disappear. You contain everything, but you never know what you are. By not knowing what you are, continuously remain a slave to whatever that is perceived. So you start expecting so many things and you get disappointed also. Simultaneously, this movie is going on. Getting disappointed, getting frustrated, and expecting always this should be like this should not be like this. So at the form level identity, you cannot remain peaceful. But you are more than peace. That's why you are able to observe the peace now. Though you are more than peace and you know the peace constantly, how you miss it? That's my question. That means you never value yourself. You never love yourself. You are never with yourself. Then how can you remain peaceful? You are the source of peace, but you do not know what peace is. What a pathetic. You are the source of peace, but you do not know what peace is. To that extent, you remain ignorant about yourself. All these teachings are only to wake up your consciousness, which is sleeping conveniently at the form level identities. Till your consciousness comes across the realized, it is impossible for your consciousness to come away from the ignorance about itself, to remain conscious of itself, and to wake up and know what it is. So meeting a realized or hearing the statement by the realized is more important. Only their words can wake up your consciousness, because a realized knows what you are exactly. All the words from realized are straight from the source. You are not separate from the source, but you remain separate from the source because your consciousness is yet to know what it is. Every calamity and every chaos, or whatever the term you use, is only when the conscious is not conscious of itself. And the consciousness is an utter ignorance. It accepts whatever perceived to be real. And the conscious is conscious of itself. It knows that every movement is out of itself. Every object is out of itself. And nothing has happened to itself, because the self is unmoving, unchanging, and ever present. Once your consciousness knows that it is not changing, not moving, and ever present, will it fall a prey to whatever perceived, which is constantly changing, moving, appearing and disappearing? Never. So you cannot find fault with anything here except yourself. There's nothing here except yourself, but yourself does not know what it is. So the only solution, the only remedy is that your consciousness remains conscious of itself. How? By closing eyes and knowing the peace within. Just now you are in that state. You know that you are, and your presence is more than enough to you. Exactly like this, you are in deep sleep, utterly relaxed. This state does not appear and disappear. It is ever there. Then how do you miss it? That's my question. Throughout the waking state, it is there. Initially, you are made to close your eyes, then only you are able to know it very easily, because with the eyes open, you are getting distracted by the objects that is happening around you. You start identifying again. This should be like this should not be like this. The moment you start identifying, you are trapped by the perceived show. The moment you start observing, you are free from the show. Why not observe silently the way you are now? Now you are observing the stillness within. The observer is more than whatever is perceived. You are the observer. Your consciousness knows the observer only by transcending the duality, not within duality. The observer is non-dual, and whatever perceived are within duality. So constantly you are only perceiving a show in which everything appears, moves and disappears. Nothing is stationary here. And a big movie is going on. You fail to know it is a movie because it is constantly moving, as you are yet to know the unmoving center in you. The moment you start knowing the unmoving center in you through stillness, you start abiding there and start observing silently whatever that happens within space. Then you are, the same moment, you are free from the show, perceived. So you have got no business with whatever is perceived once you are conscious of yourself. But you are never conscious of yourself. So you are again getting trapped through memory. Where's the memory? But for your consciousness? Your consciousness uses the memory. It knows it is more than the memory. Memory just helps you, that's all. It is not you. You are more than memory. You are consciousness. So once your conscious is conscious of itself, it is free from the memory, or it is free from all chaos or emotions or tensions. And it starts knowing the peace within constantly. And once your conscious is free from the personality identity, the same moment your consciousness, which was focusing its attention towards the manifestation is with the perceived show, now it closes the eyes and starts focusing its attention towards the source from where it arises. By closing eyes, your consciousness is merging in the source of awareness. With eyes open, your consciousness starts identifying all the objects within space and get trapped. But the moment your consciousness closes the eyes and it starts knowing the peace within, simultaneously it is merging in the awareness itself. So by merging constantly, your consciousness one day wakes up totally and knows that nothing has never happened to it, and it is already the absolute observer, and whatever perceived within duality are not me. It is only a reflection of the light. I am neither the reflection nor the object, but I am prior to light and prior to manifestation and prior to duality, and I am ever present. I am neither born and I can never die. This your consciousness finds out only by stabilizing in the non-dual stillness. The moment your consciousness abides in stillness, it is freeing itself from the perceived show. It is freeing itself from the entire object and its effect, whatever you call it as emotion or tension or expectation, whatever it is. So your consciousness remains totally free and remains complete only when it wakes up totally from the perceived show. But your consciousness remains incomplete as it is not conscious of itself and gets trapped by whatever that is perceived within duality to be real, to be real, to be real. So the only way to know that you are the eternal, beyond duality, and you are ever present here, and you are the absolute truth, your consciousness needs to be conscious of itself. That's the only remedy. My whole teaching is only to your consciousness, which is struggling due to wrong identification to be a person. Only by going inwardly, by knowing the peace within, your consciousness knows that it is more than the form, it is more than the appearance, it is more than the movement. Right now, your consciousness is free from the perceived show because it is not identifying anything within, because there's no object within. And once your consciousness abides inwardly without identification and starts observing whatever that is perceived within space silently, the same moment your consciousness is free from the show, free from the birth and death concept, and remains so joyful and peaceful. This joy and peace cannot be explained. It is beyond limitation and it is endless. Know the peace and joy endlessly and wake up and know your highest potential beyond duality. Know you are already that and always that. I am here to help you and to make you aware of what you are exactly. Be with me beyond words and know what you are. Will you?
If you have an hour this week, you can learn 100